Morning guys and girls, hope you're doing well. And yeah, again, we've got another car in the workshop and she's a bit of a classic, or she's nearly a classic. I think she's 3 years off being classic car. So the last video would have seen the Tesla, so we've gone from something very new technology to a nice decent old technology. And never been a fan of Volvos, never been like the one that I want to get, but driving this, sitting this, moving this around just in this little bit here for instance, it's a really comfortable, nice drive. I do like the big headlights at the front there, for instance. They're like proper in your face, big headlights, and they've got washers, which is lovely, or wipers should we say. Right, let me take you walk around the car and then I'll show you what I'm going to be doing. She looks the part, isn't it? What's that, F-Reg? That's about 87, I believe. And those massive headlights, you won't get it on camera really how big they are, but that's my hand in the corner of them. As you can see, they're huge. They're about 12 inches across, those, but it's so nice to see. And they do have little washer jets on them actually, so we've got wipers and washer jet bit, so that's really smart. Like the old school original wheels. One thing about old cars that you'll probably see a lot is that the wheels always look too thin for it, which to be honest, I don't have a clue why they're doing. The back ones are even worse, but it's nice to see. So could obviously do with a wash, but it is in very good condition. Most of these, unfortunately, these little cars, they all get scrapped now just for the fact of Sadiq Khan and his silly scrappage scheme and trying to get old stuff off the road. But only another 3 years and this one doesn't have to pay any ULEZ or anything. That's that difference with the wheel arch, which means if you were to low ride it, you could really get it down sitting low. Interior wise, I'll show you in a second, but I think my favourite part of it, looking at the design and everything, because to be honest, I don't see these that often, is the back. It's got really nice rear end. I love this sort of like slightly up and over. The newer Volvos from this all went very square, but it's nice to see that they've got a little curve detail on that edge. Sort of gives me like a Jaguar or sort of a Daimler feel to it. It's 240 GLT, not sure what the GLT stands for, but looking at the trim inside, it is all very comfy, very squishy leather. So I'm going to guess that's something to do with the leather trim side of things. But no, she's a goodie. I think he does use it as a daily because very few classic cars have things like child seats in them and steering lock. So I think it is sort of, it's outside being parked up as it should be, being used. But no, it does look nice. I'll explain in a few minutes what we're going to be doing with the work. But yeah, in here, does look cool. These are nice, little detail on this. They don't bother with putting details on things nowadays, and if they do, it's just plastic light up strip stuff. Let's have a little look at the dash binnacle. All good. Is that heated seats? That's got to be something to do with that GLT part of it, because I don't think heated seats were a very common option back then. But no, all good. Right. Let me go through what we're going to be doing today, and I'm going to open up the boot, and apparently it's got a load of stuff in there for me to play with, and we shall crack on with the job. Right, there we go. That's the boot full of goodies that he was talking about. So, as you can see, we've got an underseat driver. He told me he wants that underneath the passenger chair, so we'll get that down there. New stereo, which is one of these sort of new school, well, it's a new unit, but it looks old school, so that's good. I think we've just got to supply DAB antenna for that part of it. And we've got a speaker change. And these are little adapters that apparently will let us get larger speakers in, because the factory ones aren't all that. Looks like a relatively simple sort of side screw fitting. There is a little instruction booklet there, so I'm going to have a look. But I think the plan will be to get those up on these front doors, because they do have like this contour where it goes in, and I don't know if you'll be able to see at the bottom, they're the same there. So I think those ones are going to sit here with the new focal speakers in, and then he's asked me if we can to move these ones into the back door where there isn't any sound back here, and it still has these same sort of ridges. So I'm hoping that those ones can just be lifted out. I cut this hole out and drop these in here, but I won't do anything until I work out how much thickness we've got with the glass, because it does look very close there with regards to the speaker bit, but we'll see. We'll strip all the door card down. So I guess the first stage, I think the customer did actually put the Brenham in already, but he needs me to adjust it. Yeah, you can see it up there. So it's not fitted in properly, and obviously I've got to take it out to put the DAB antenna and speaker wires. So we'll see that happening. think the first thing then is to get these out of here, get those new adapter plates onto this, get those in position, and then once we've got those, see if we can get them back there. Cable management, let's have a look. That's all right, we've got a nice big rubber grommet, so it shouldn't be too much pain to take it off. I guess the downside is I'll have to strip all this down here to be able to get that cable through, but that's just part of what we've got to do. These, if I'm aware, will just screw off and pop up, so that shouldn't be too bad there. And obviously then have the subwoofer down that. Right, I'm going to start stripping this down, getting this door off. I don't think I have to take the card off. I think this bit here, see it does move, but I think it's just pressed on, so I'm going to have to be a little bit careful, try and get it off, because we do want those for the rears. So, right, let me get that off and we'll see how far we get into it. Yeah, those weren't too bad, so it was just little friction clips, top and bottom, that just line up in those little recesses there. So those will come off nice and good. Put that up there out the way. So let me get the speaker unscrewed. It does look like there's some extra holes there, so I'm hoping those are the ones that line up with the bigger mounting position. So, but yeah, let's get that speaker out and find out what's going on. Yeah, pretty much as expected. Undid the screws, really nice old speakers, and then basically that exposed that. You can see the glass is there, so it's not a million miles away from this. We've only got about a finger length on it, or 3/4 of a finger. Now this one wasn't plugged in, which explains why he's having no sound, but we can see the wires there. But on that side, it also wasn't plugged in, but there's no wiring, or not that I can see, unless it's fallen down. So I'm gonna have to try and find those cables, get them back up, and then we can start getting this fitted up. So let me go and find those cables. All right, managed to find them tucked down in there. It's a bit of a strange one. I don't know whether the customer knows this or not, but as you can see here, so that's definitely like the original harness. And then you can see inside this heat shrink that we've got the bigger spades, which is what they used to use for older speakers. Running down, we've now got the newer speaker terminal, which is like the, if it will focus, the big and the small. So although the factory ones were in there, someone's definitely had some aftermarket ones in there, which may explain why we have those extra holes, because I don't think they do that from factory. Why put holes in where you don't need them? So I guess that's one job done. I will have to check the polarity to make sure they've got the pluses and the minuses around the wrong way. But yeah, it looks like there were upgrade speakers, and it would also explain why they weren't plugged in, because the old speakers won't fit onto these little plugs. So, right, let's have a look and see what's next. I guess trying to get those new adapter brackets back into this position, because the wiring we can gain access to now. So let me see how they fit up. Well, that's how those are going to go. There was mention inside about how these can pin back onto the metal bit, but over on this side on the left, there's no metal behind that, so I think we're have to go onto the door panel itself. Customer did say, can we pin it to the metal, which I'd like to do. It looks like he's actually just scratched a little bit there, maybe with a standing knife when he's taking it open. Yeah, it feels very light. But yeah, that's how those are going to sit up. They should look all right in there, to be honest. So, right, let's get those inner bits. These bits inside are like 3D printed rings. It's quite a good 3D printer. I got one myself, and these are very fine level. He's used probably like a 0.2 or 0.1 layer height. So that's going to basically, once you've got that bolted up onto there, that will then give us the location for the speaker bit, and then on the side we've got those screws which hold the grill on. So basically I've just got to get that in the right position, get that bolted onto the door card, and then everything sort of magically will work. So alright, let's give that a go. Alright, managed to get a few of the holes in position there, and we're going to be able to get pinned onto the metal, which is great. So I've just got to take this bit off. Now if you are doing this, you've got the 3 screws that live in that hole and there, but this top one has to be rotated down to about here to get it out. There's a little key path on this, if it will focus in, there's a little key path there that has to be twisted around to get through a couple of notches that are on there. So I don't just tug it because it won't come off. Right, so we're going to get this grill cover on. I've got to do a little bit adapting to the speaker bracket, just the way that the hardware is going to line up and things. And I've got to do some little captive nuts and things. So we'll get that. I'll go up to the bench and I'll show you what I'm going to do there. But this one's not a million miles off now. So we'll get this side done and obviously do the driver's side. And then we'll see what we can do about those back speakers. Right, so we've got this bit figured out and those are going to bolt up. If we flip this round, you can see there's little hex shapes there. Those are where the speakers are going to line up with. Now, the original focal gear down in there doesn't come with anything, so I've just got these little nuts. But obviously, I don't want to just drop them in there and hope that they're going to stay in, because sod's law, they will try and fall out. And I'm also thinking about it, I don't want the bolts to come through too far. They supply you these sort of massive ones, which I don't think are going to do the job for what we need. So I've managed to find some little short guys. They're going to tap into those. But what I'm going to do is put them in position and then do a little dab of hot glue over the back of these holes just to keep that captive, just so it's in there and we're ready to go. Thankfully, these other ones on the side here are captive, so they're all good. Right, so let me get that done. I'll do that to both of them, and then we can get them mounted up into the vehicle. Right, so we've got them all mounted up now, well, mounted up initially. As you can see, we've got the bolts in there. That's why we've got to do this, because we can't get into those screws once the speakers are in. And basically, I've just gone in with a little bit of black hot glue and just captive those in there. So they're ready to go, so we'll let that set off, then I can undo the screws and that will hold the nut exactly where I need it. Then obviously we can get those mounted up onto the door cards, get the speakers screwed in, job done on that bit, and then we can have some fun and games with the rears. That's all in, ready to rock and roll. I'm going to put the grill on and then hopefully, well, I'm going to leave the door card bit off until I actually get the final test and everything else done. But obviously where that screw goes in there, you can't get it on when you've got this bit in. So I'll get the grill on position and then that should look job done on this one. And there we go. So yeah, all worked out nice. Grips onto it lovely there, top and bottom. No, that should be good. We've just got enough room to get that bit in there. So yeah, happy days. Right, got all that in, got the stereo wired up. Won't play too much music because stupid copyright. And then obviously got that door card done as well. So that's all the front end in. Subwoofer's in, that's really easy. Just run the cabling essentially up to the back of this and plug it all in. Now the fun bit is going to be to see what we can do with those rear speakers. So I'm going to strip the door down and have a look behind it and see what space we've got between basically the distance here and the glass. That's our limiting factor. So, right, let me get those door cards off and we'll see it then. Well, sadly, my plan's sort of fallen apart. So originally on the door card, we were going to sort of replicate how that sits there on the front, just in front of where like the handle is. But if we come up to here, you see we've got the pivot to control the lock mechanism. So we then have the option of potentially maybe going down the bottom here. But when we look there, we can see we've got a fair bit of metal. Metal's not a problem, that can be moved. But you can probably see there, the bolt, that is the lower part of the window arm. So trying to get them in there, I spoke to the customer, he sort of didn't really want me to cut and do loads of sort of drastic work on it. The other option would obviously be, say, back here, but then that would be firing into the side of this. So he's gonna have a think about it. I'm not gonna have to do that today, which is easy for me. I get an easier day than I planned. The other way of doing it would obviously be to put them up onto the rear deck, up on sort of the parcel shelf. There is, inside here, the sort of cavity spaces there. You can see that's just the loose bit there, and the same on that side there. So in the future, he could have some speakers drop through that. But he said for the moment, leave it. He's gonna think about what he wants to do. So I'm gonna get the door card back on, get it all back together again. And I think that's the last bit I've got to do. Oh, actually, I've just got to neaten up that wire because we're not going to need those now. So I'm going to just put them behind the carpet, and I've just got to Velcro down the focal and get that in position. But I think that's going to be it, guys. So I think I'll sign off here. So thank you very much. Nice, quick, easy video. Good to see an old girl still on the road, and hope you're enjoying it all. And what we got? I've got some cool ones coming up, as I always say, but there's a lovely Fiat 500 that I'm going to be doing. A lovely custom build, custom box, everything else. There's a few in the pipeline. So anyway, hope you have a great day, guys. Catch you on the next one.